being here today and just trying to finalize where everything is going to go, it's turning out to be really bittersweet because it's just taking me way too long to pick and choose and finalize everything. And if I don't hurry up and just make some tough decisions, this homestead's never going to get built. So I think I just have to bite the bullet and call him. G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Homestead on the Rock. If you're new here, this is my homestead, the little block of land that we're going to be turning into our beautiful homestead. And if you've been here before and you've come back again, it's nice to see you. You look great. I love what you did with your hair. Anyway, enough of the small talk. I've come out to the block today, as you just seen, to dump off a few pots and old chicken coops because we've been living at my in-laws' house while we organise our house, organise our build and try to get our permit to build the house. And that is what this video is going to be a little bit about. I think I started this YouTube channel about 6 months ago now, and since then I've been planning, researching, trying to learn and figure out how we're going to build this house. And obviously one of the most important parts of building a house is getting the building permit. Before I started this project, I honestly thought that a building permit was more like just apply to the council and say, can I build a house? And then they say yes, or they say no. But turns out getting a building permit, there's actually a lot more involved than that. So along my journey to get a building permit, I found a surveyor. And then after contacting the surveyor and starting to communicate with him, he sent me a checklist on everything that I need to organise or get together so that I can actually apply for that building permit. And it doesn't look like a big list, but it does take a little while. So I'm going to read this checklist out to you. I'll put it on the screen as well so you can see. To get the building permit, I need to have a complete application form. So that's just basic stuff like my name, the address, my contact numbers. Then you need the builder's name, their address and contact numbers and registration numbers. That again, the builder would be me in this instance. Property numbers and rate notice to get rates, the address again. All of that so far is quite simple really, but then straight away gets into something much more complex here. We've got the value of the proposed work, materials and labour. Budgeting for little jobs sometimes can be tricky. I mean, budgeting for a job of this size is really, really tricky. Trying to figure out how many materials we'd need, how much the trades would cost to do that, and compiling it all together as accurate as possible. That's a massive, massive job. And obviously, if I'm going to get a budget for this whole project, there's a few things we need, like the house plans. So next up, you need a copy of all the plans. So we need the building plans, elevations, sections, footing designs, including with the soil test. So you have to get someone to come out, test your soil, and use that to send off to the engineer to get your footing design, all dimension components showing full structural details, site plan, positioning. Basically, you need all the drawings and all the designing done for your house. So before you can even get the building permit, you basically have to design the entire house. You have to figure out how you're going to build the whole thing, what it's going to look like, where it's going to sit, where your windows are, your doors, your bedroom. Design the entire house, how you want it built. Go to an architect or go to a draftsman, get them to draw up the entire thing. Then you've got to send those drawings off to an engineer, because the next thing you need is full engineering for the job. So you've got to use an engineer uses your drawings to engineer the project and make sure that it's all structurally sound, obviously. And now this is costing money too. You've got to pay for these things like the soil test and the engineering. So you're starting to invest money before you can even get that building permit. Then you have to have a BAO rating, which is like your bushfire rating. I believe it's a 7-star energy rating now as well. So you've got to send off your drawings, get an energy rating on that. And then lastly, the biggest thing that I have to get for this project is a septic permit, because on this property, I don't have any town sewer. So I have to manage all of the wastewater myself, which means you either have to have a compost toilet with a grey water system, or you have to have a septic system. Long story short, it's been a very tough decision, but I'm here today because I think I'm going to lock in a septic system. I just come to have one last look at the property and make sure there is enough space to do what I think I want to do. Okay, so on one side here, I'll put the drone view, and that's what the property looks like as I walk around. And on the other side, you can see just a bit of a drawing that I did to give you an example of possibly how much space I have. I'm sure this can help give you a bit of perspective that if I actually did build a shed over there, and then have a little garden shed here, the garden rows, the beds, there's only so many garden beds that I can actually make in this space. Like, yes, it's still a lot, way more than I've ever done, but you've got limited space, and this is where I do think the chickens would be best back here because it's kind of shaded later on. And I'm a bit like, well, do you have to decide where the chickens are going right now? Maybe that's not very important, but you kind of feel like you do need to decide, because the toilet over here, I've actually got to have this decided where it goes, because I've got to submit to council where that's going and get it signed off. So I don't want to change it later. So if that's locked in here, and I mean, the septic tank's positioned here, and then the water tanks are positioned here, obviously then right in this middle spot, I've got to have that big leach field. I mean, I think it's just enough space to actually fit the leach field. I have found a plumber who has helped me design a system that uses much less space. You might remember in an older video that I did, showed you this drawing here, and that's how much space was needed if I was going to use a drip irrigation. I'm bringing so many plumbers to try and get something designed smaller, but a lot of them say that's as small as you can go. I finally found one guy that helped me design it much smaller, and that's why the drawing that you're seeing here actually is a much less space needed for the leach field. It's a wicking trench system, and it reckons we can get it down to 40 square meters. So hopefully if I leave enough space in the middle here, then those wicking trenches will work really well. I'll have nice green grass in the middle here. It's kind of like the only open space plain area on the property. I haven't really updated you guys on the whole septic compost thing. Last video I did was saying which one do I do, and as you can imagine, I've been tossing up between the options, but I'm pretty sure I'm set on a septic system now. I've wrote a few notes here just to quickly list why we're not actually going to go with a compost toilet, and I'll quickly list off those reasons. The first one is the grey water situation was very confusing and not many plumbers out there to help. Basically, no plumbers in Victoria want to talk about grey water. It's very regulated here. It's very hard to get something signed off. It was a very big grey area. I spent so much time trying to figure it out, and then the only options that I found that people would do ended up costing the same as basically the same as getting a septic system anyway. So I thought the pros just outweighed the cons. And I'm talking specifically in a legal situation that I'm in. You may be in the middle of an off-grid property in the middle of whoop whoop, not worried about the council, looking for a budget option, and a compost toilet, grey water system is probably a lot better for you. But in my specific situation where I'm located and trying to get things signed off and how much money I have, I think I've decided that a septic's better. The next thing on the listed was, yeah, it wasn't much cheaper. At the end of the day, for me, there wasn't really a very big price difference between the two. The next point is resale value. I had a few people comment this as well, and initially I thought, you know what, I'm not caring about resale value. I'll probably be here for a long time. But then the more I thought about it a bit too, I thought, you know, I can imagine in a few years' time, 3, 4, 5, who knows, maybe 6, 7, 8. I'm not sure how many years I'll be on this property, but one day I'm going to go sell it. And I thought, you know, maybe people would rather have a septic system if an elderly couple move here and they want to have a bit more less maintenance. Maybe they'll want a septic system over a compost, or maybe someone would think that's a bit gross and they won't buy the house. So I do want to try to invest in my property and make sure that it goes up a little bit over time. So resale value did become a bit of a factor. The other thing to consider is we can still collect grey water later if we want. So I'm building the house on stumps. Just because I'm having a septic system doesn't mean I'm wasting all the water. With a compost toilet, yes, you catch all the grey water, but my house is on a raised foundation. It's a strip footing, and I can still collect all that grey water at a later date, and I can use it to irrigate my fruit trees and all that kind of stuff. So I can still catch the grey water. It's a simplified process because it's very common. Everyone's familiar with it. The council's familiar with it. The plumbers are familiar with it. It's much easier just to get through faster, and that's kind of what I'm just getting into. I just need to make tough decisions and just bite the bullet and just actually choose things so that I can get this permit and start building the house. And yeah, that was my last note that I basically just said. It should get the build started faster. I really want to just get this build started, so I'm just choosing a few options that maybe I'll one day realize it wasn't the absolute best option, but it was the best conclusion I came to at the time. When I came here on the property, I was looking at the ground, and it kind of looks like an animal's been here and like ripped up the ground. It almost looks like manure or something's been walking on the ground. You can see a lot of it's all broken up, and there's like some big burrows and little holes. I was actually thinking somebody must have put an animal on the property because some parts of it are so broken up. But I've just discovered on the wall, there is all these cicadas here on the wall, climbing up the wall and then leaving their shell. And I mean, I don't really know much about cicadas, but I'm guessing they must have fallen out of this tree. Their eggs fall into the ground, and then they've climbed up on the fence here and then continue their life cycle flying off into the sky or whatever. And then I'm guessing some more will just drop their eggs back down. So I'm kind of glad that I'm actually going to be getting rid of this tree. And yes, I have council approval. I've spoke to the council, I've got written approval and everything. So this tree is coming down, and then hopefully we won't have any more cicadas falling in my garden beds and then coming back up. Anyway, that was interesting. Being here today and just trying to finalize where everything is going to go, it's turning out to be really bittersweet because it's just taking me way too long to pick and choose and finalize everything. And if I don't hurry up and just make some tough decisions, this homestead's never going to get built. So I think I just have to bite the bullet and call him.
Hi Thomas, how are you?
I'm going good, mate. How are you going?
Yeah, going all right.
I'm at the site now. I'm just sort of going over a few things and trying to finalise what I'm going to do. And I thought I'd just ring you, just ask you a quick couple of questions, if you've got a minute.
Yep, go for it.
The first one is, would you be happy to install it first so I can connect a site toilet to it?
Yeah, for sure. Once we've got a septic permit to install, we can install it straight away. You don't have to wait for building permits or anything. So, yeah, no problem.
I'm actually going to get you to draw on the application. I've got it in my drawings, a backyard toilet, so like an outhouse or whatever you want to call it. When I send you the drawings, you'll see it, and then obviously on the application, you just have to put in backyard toilet or whatever.
Yeah, sweet. Too easy. Yeah, mate, just send it over and I'll get it done for you.
We discussed the wicking trenches last time. It wasn't very much. It was like 18 metres by 1.8 wide or something.
Yeah, 18 by 1.6.
1.6, yeah, that's it. Well, what I was thinking is, in my design at the moment, I'm planning on, I know we said we might just stretch it a little bit bigger just to be extra safe, a bit of a buffer maybe. It's supposed to have a bit of a mound over it, but would you say it's going to be a practical solution would be, like you can still use that as a grass area?
We normally just mound it up about 50 mil to 75 mil so the rain runs off it.
Yep.
That's the only reason. It's not as big as what the diagrams look when you look up the diagram. If it's slightly falling to the left or right, and when the rain hits it, you can just have it dead level and have your lawn on it. It won't even have a mount. So
Rather than have like one 18-metre line, having like two or make like a square pad, that entire square would be raised a little bit, so then it runs off the whole thing.
Yeah, and then you could edge it and whatever, but or just mount it, put a bit of a batter on it or something. With that, you need 2 metres between the lines. So one line 1.6.
Yep.
And then you got 2 metres, so you're already at 3.6. Then you've got another 1.6, so 5.2. You can do it, yeah.
That's all right. Well, I'll send you like a bit of a drawing and stuff of kind of what I want, and then you can sort of put it together. When we've got the quote back, I'll say to you, tick, go ahead, and then you can apply for the septic permit.
Too easy. No worries, mate. Easy.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate your time.
See you, mate.
Cheers. Take it easy.
Right, see ya.
Bye.
Catch ya. Bye.
Oh, well, it's done. Let's do it. Okay, so as you just heard on that phone call, I'll put the drawing up on the screen here so you can understand a little bit, but that grass patch in the middle there is going to be the leach field, the wicking trenches for the septic system. And then I might do a mound. That whole thing will be slightly raised so that water doesn't pool on it and it runs off. And then hopefully that's enough surface area for it to absorb the water. It'll be a nice big square patch right in the center of the property that's hopefully got really good grass growing on it all the time, and it's nice and safe, and the kids will love that, and I'll love that if it all goes to plan. So that's the plan for the septic, and hopefully it works. Someone just mentioned on Instagram this morning was that how close you have your septic system.
Hey, Thomas.
How you going, brother?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. It's a small town, so everyone knows everyone out here, and when I'm on site, it's very nice. People can always come over and say g'day, so everyone around here has been very welcoming. They probably think I'm a bit of a weirdo coming out here and filming myself all the time, but that's all right. I'm a bit of a weirdo. Anyway, as I was saying before that gentleman come over, is that someone said on Instagram that it's worth considering the location of the septic in the middle here, and then how close you have your garden beds to that, because you don't want to be like have your septic leaching here and then your carrots growing here and it's basically the same water. Then it's basically your septic watering the carrots, which is not ideal. So a few things to consider would be how close my garden beds are to the leach field. Obviously on top of the leach field you can never build anything. The other thing that's worth considering is sheds or things that are going to put shade onto that leach field. You want to have as much sun hitting it so that you get that evapotranspiration, I think is the word, and then all the grass grows, the sun hits the grass and it helps absorb the water. You don't want any shade on it, and obviously I want to make sure that it doesn't pool, so you get that nice runoff. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit excited now because now that I've made that phone call, I feel like things are actually happening. Once we submit that, in a few weeks, I know the environmental health officer here has been really great to deal with, and I know he's on the ball. So once I submit that application, I'll probably have the permit within a few weeks. So technically, in like maybe a month and a half from today, I can actually start putting in a septic system, which is pretty exciting. Even though it's going to cost more than I really wanted, and it's not exactly what I hoped for, I'm biting the bullet, I'm getting the job done. I know somebody's going to be looking at that drawing and seeing where I positioned everything and thinking there's not many permaculture principles applied and there's a lot more things I could do. And you know what, you're actually right. There is probably a lot of better ways to design it, but that's the best that my brain could come up with at the moment. The good news is a certified permaculture designer is about to help me on this project. I've been in communication with him and he's going to help me just finalize a few of the locations of things to make sure that I am applying those permaculture principles, making this property as efficient, practical and productive as possible. So that's just some of the locations that I came to by myself because I had to just choose things to get the ball rolling. But I will share with you guys the insight that I get as that permaculture designer helps me pinpoint and finalize a few of the locations of things. And who knows, maybe my whole plan will get thrown in the bin again and I'll have to start from scratch. But anyway, that's coming very soon and I will share with you guys all the principles that he helps me apply on this homestead. It's been 6 months since I posted our first video on this block saying that we're going to build a homestead. And over that 6 months, I've learned a lot and it's taken a lot longer than I would have liked. But that's probably the number one thing I've learned is that there's a lot more to it and that it takes a lot of time. But anyway, plenty more learning to come and plenty more videos to come just like this. I'm going to be documenting the whole journey, showing you the house build, showing you what we chose and why we chose it. And hopefully we can have this house built sooner rather than later and we can start planting seeds in the backyard. And one day I'm going to be posting a video of me walking up the stairs and standing in the doorway of my new home on my new homestead. You're going to see me in here, starting a little fire, eating breakfast at the kitchen table, or washing the dishes at the sink, looking in the backyard into my beautiful homestead. And if you want to see me build this dream, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in next week's video on Homestead on the Rock. Hope you enjoyed that.